Half a Moon Inn, Chapter 5. Rise up, boy, up sharp and to work with you. Miss Grackle bustled across the room in the dawnlight, whacked Aaron's legs with a willow switch, and shook him till his teeth rattled. Hop to the hearths now, quick, and raise the flames up tall. Let me see 'em hiss like snakes and snap their jaws like wolves. She clutched a shawl around her shoulders and glared down at him, her teeth chattering wildly with the cold. Quick, boy, or are you deaf as well? Aaron rubbed his legs and squinted up at her. He'd get up sure enough, but not to be nursing fires all morning. He had to get to Craftsbury, and in a galloping hurry. He heard footsteps creaking on the floor above him. The guests were awakening. Surely one of them would be heading in the right direction and would offer to take him along. Miss Grackle reined in her voice to a whisper. You were dreaming of home last night, weren't you, boy? Sitting about the table you were, just you and your mother with her long brown hair, color of molasses, sipping soup out of those pretty blue bowls. Aaron stared up at her in disbelief. It was just as she said. I peeked into your dreams, I did, and inspected 'em close. Oh, you were dreaming of speaking, you were. Just laughing and shouting and chattering on like a chipmunk. And while I was watching you, I caught me a glimpse out of your windows. And what do I see but gulls sailing through the air and blue water clear to the horizon? Aye, lad, and no doubt about it, 'twas the sea. She bore down on Aaron like a bird of prey. And the sea's practically round the other side of the globe from here, boy. That far and then some. Oh, you come a long way from home, me cricket, and too long a way to be found again. Why, you'd just as likely catch a June bug in December as find your dear mother sniffing around here for you, if she ain't clicking her heels to be rid of you. She smiled down at Aaron like a jack-o'-lantern. But I'll be generous with you, boy, more than it pays me, and give you a fine roof over your head and your meals as well, all for the price of your minding the fires and doing your chores. Now, what's your name, boy? Aaron wouldn't have told her even if he were able, and he shook his head. Well, you'll come running to Sam from now on, same as the last one. Makes it easy on me memory that way. Now into your clothes, Sam, and to the grates with you. Miss Grackle rushed out of the room, and Aaron scampered over to the fireplace and climbed into his clothes. Why was it that she couldn't light the fires herself? She'd said it was her back, but she looked strong enough to him to fire up a volcano. Either way, he had more important things to do than to stay on here as an errand boy, and Miss Grackle would find that out in a hurry. Why, he'd be up and out the door as quick as a cat, and let her try and catch him. All of a sudden, he stopped and stared. His 2 winter coats were gone, and so was his sack. He glanced about the room for them, and saw that his stockings were missing, and his boots as well. He clearly remembered taking them off the night before and setting them by the fire. He searched for them everywhere, hopping from one foot to the other on the icy floor, but they seemed to have vanished completely. Down the stairs he scurried, flushed with anger. He hunted up Miss Grackle, tugged on her arm, and pointed to his bare feet. Misplaced your boots, did you? She tied on her apron, with its pockets as big as a flour sack. Well then, let it be an inspiration to you to keep the floor as warm as griddles. Now give us a blaze, boy, and be quick about it. Misplaced indeed, They might be tight on his feet, but how would he escape through the snow without them? And when the flames are climbing the chimney like ivy, you can set your fingers to these, she said, and thrust a basket of vegetables into his arms. Aaron wanted to heave it back at her and make a dash for the door, but he remembered his feet. He needed time to think. He decided to do as she said, building a fire and peeling potatoes for the evening soup, all the while searching for his boots out of the corner of his eye. Suddenly, he heard a clumping of feet down the stairs. The callers, of course. Surely one of them would rescue him from Miss Grackle, and mounted on a horse he could get by without boots. He burst up from his bench and made a run for the stairs. But Miss Grackle got there before him and lashed at his feet with her willow switch. "Back to your work, boy, quick now!" She chased him, hopping back to his seat, his feet stinging as though he'd been stuck into a beehive. "Didn't your mother ever teach you to obey? I can see I'm going to have to put some manners in you meself, and teach you to be grateful for me hospitality." She whipped the switch across his toes one more time, and returned to warming herself by the fire. One by one, the callers descended the stairs, yawning and grumbling and still groggy with sleep. There were half a dozen of them, all men, and a rough and ragged lot at that. Quickly, Miss Grackle warmed up some gruel and set Aaron to serving it to the guests, keeping a sharp eye over him all the while. The food smelled awful to Aaron, and he watched in amazement as the guests ate it up briskly. But before the first one to finish had a chance to step out the door, Miss Grackle placed herself in the doorway and cleared her throat conspicuously. "Much as I hate to offend your innocent hearts," she began, "'twould weigh down me conscience if I weren't to warn you before you set out that there's been a right lot of thieves about lately." One man's hand reached instantly for his breast pocket. Another man's darted to his cap. "Thick as rats in a cellar, they are, and pleased to pick you clean as a coat stand. 'Twould be worse than sending a baby into a bear's den not to tell you so, and a burden on me soul as well. So take heed in the woods, me worthy gentleman, and keep your eyes open, and God speed to you." One by one, they finished their breakfast and filed past her. When the last one had mounted his horse and set off, she turned to Aaron and burst out laughing. "Oh, but it's nice to have me a boy such as you, one who'll keep me secrets locked up tight as artichokes." Aaron watched as she pulled 2 money pouches out of her great apron pocket and emptied out a trickle of coppers. "Aye, Sam, I'm one of the villains you heard me speaking of, and all I do is sing out the word thief, and every one of 'em points me straight to his money, sure as a compass points north." She laughed again and flung the emptied purses into the fire. "Aye, and it's only after they've reached for 'em that I finger their pouches. Let 'em discover it when they stop for a meal and blame the man next to 'em, or when they pull in somewhere else for the night. But they'll remember it clear that they checked their purses before leaving the Half-a-Moon Inn, and still had 'em with 'em." She counted the money in her hand once again, and stood warming herself by the fire. "Oh, me hands move fast, lad, quick as swifts and swallows. But they're dishonest hands, you understand, and me great-great-grandfather, who built this house, was a worthy judge and an honest man. May his soul rot in heaven! Oh, he laid up these chimneys with his own honest hands, and built a curse into 'em as well, lest any of his thieving brothers should snatch the house for himself when he died. Aye, for it's only honest hands that can get the wood to catch in the grates. Your hands, lad." Miss Grackle cackled like a hen. "The last of me boys ran off quick as a ghost at sunrise, he did, and froze to death in the bargain. So ever since the air's turned cold, I've been having to rely on the guests to build fires. But here you blow in with the first of the snow. Aye, you turn up handy as a thimble, boy. Now pitch another load of logs on the grate, and then back to sleep with you. You'll need it for tonight, lad, believe me." Aaron built up the blaze and climbed upstairs, his feet still stinging and sore. He searched for his boots without success, sat by the window and stared outside. It was snowing again. How had he gotten himself into such a fix? Could his mother truly have abandoned him, as Miss Grackle had suggested? Or was she waiting for him at home right now, wondering what in the world had become of him? He'd been so certain he'd find her that he hadn't thought to leave a note in the house. Yet surely she'd be out hunting for him at this very moment. But was she searching the wrong road, or combing the wrong town? Anxiously, Aaron peered out at the road, following it with his eyes until it vanished among the trees. Somehow he had to get free of Miss Grackle. And suddenly he spotted her, walking out toward a little shed set apart from the house. Aaron saw she was carrying the empty wood box, to refill it, no doubt, and knew that he hadn't a moment to spare. He ripped the covers off his bed and wrapped each of his feet in a blanket. If only he could get away from the inn. He could climb up a tree out of the snow and wait for a traveler to come down the road. Quick as he could, Aaron scurried down the stairs, poked his head out from the stairway, and saw that the coast was clear. With his heart beating furiously, he dashed to the door, threw it open, and stood face to face with Miss Grackle. "Well now, what have we here?" She hoisted him up by the shirt collar, walked inside with him, and slammed the door shut. "Still got a mind to run off, have you, me ungrateful scamp?" She dropped him down on the floor and picked up her switch off the mantel. "Aye, I knew what you'd be up to, me minnow. All me boys try it. Once." She pinned him to the floor, unwrapped the blankets, and brought the willow down on his feet with all her might. Aaron jerked with the pain, desperately trying to get free. "Aye, Sam, I'll whip some manners into you yet. Believe me, I will." Time after time, the switch hummed through the air and stung at his feet. Aaron squirmed like a fish, and soon grew too exhausted to struggle against her. At last she was satisfied. "Now up on your feet, boy, and hop to your room. Quick now." Aaron picked himself up onto his knees and painfully rose to his feet. They had already begun to swell, and they felt as tender as ripe tomatoes. Slowly, laboriously, he made his way toward the stairs, wincing with every step. "And if you've still got a mind to run off down the road, I'll whip you again till it'll be all you can do to crawl like a baby. Now be gone with you." It seemed like ages to Aaron before he finished climbing the stairs. At last he entered his room, Miss Grackle charging upstairs behind him, slamming the door shut and turning a key in the lock. His feet throbbing, Aaron shuffled weakly across the floor, collapsed on his bed, and fell thankfully to sleep.